Welcome, dear listener, and thank you for choosing to spend this quiet time with us. We are so pleased you've joined us for Echoes in the Petrichor Labyrinth, a soothing fantasy journey crafted to help you unwind and drift peacefully towards rest. If you find comfort and calm in this story, we warmly invite you to like this recording and subscribe to our channel for more gentle escapes like this one. Before we step into the tranquil embrace of the Sunken Vale, we will begin with a short breathing guidance to help ease you into relaxation. If you feel ready to start the story immediately, please feel free to skip ahead. You can find the chapter timestamps conveniently listed in the description below. Now, find a position that feels truly comfortable for you. Allow your body to feel fully supported, perhaps noticing the softness of your bedding or the gentle weight of your blanket. Let yourself settle, releasing any need to hold yourself up. This is your quiet space, a time dedicated purely to letting go of the day's thoughts and inviting in a sense of deep ease. Imagine the soft air of the Sunken Vale beginning to surround you, carrying the faint, earthy scent of recent rain and the promise of profound peace. Let the gentle pace of the coming story be your guide into restful tranquility. Let us take a slow, calming breath together now. Inhale gently through your nose, feeling the air fill your lungs easily without effort. And then exhale softly through your mouth, perhaps with a quiet sigh, releasing the breath fully. Notice with each breath how your body softens just a little more. Feel the gentle weight of your limbs resting heavily, comfortably. You might imagine with each inhale, breathing in the clean, rain-washed air of the Vale, and with each exhale, letting go of any lingering tension, like mist dissolving in the morning sun. Picture the soft green moss, the smooth, warm stones, the gentle murmur of unseen streams. If your mind wanders, as minds often do, simply acknowledge the thought gently and let it drift away like a leaf floating down one of the Vale's slow streams. Bring your awareness back softly to the sensation of your breath or to the sound of my voice. There is absolutely nothing you need to do right now except relax and listen. Feel the quiet rhythm of the Vale settling around you, a steady, peaceful pulse. Allow this gentle cadence to carry away any lingering concerns or distractions, leaving only stillness behind. Let the unique magic of the Petrichor Labyrinths guide your imagination towards rest. Now, let us begin our journey into the heart of the Sunken Vale, where the echoes of peace await. Chapter 1. Arrival in Sunken Vale. The air itself seemed to exhale alongside Rhys as he reached the crest of the final low hill overlooking the Sunken Vale. The journey had been long, though its specific trials now felt distant, blurred like watercolors left in the rain. Below him, the valley unfolded like a soft green sigh, a tapestry woven from countless shades of moss, fern, and ancient woodland, cradled within softly sculpted slopes. A gentle afternoon shower, the kind that hushes the world rather than scouring it, was just tapering off. Its departure left behind a profound quiet, punctuated only by the slow, contented dripping of water from leaf to leaf. The world smelled clean, renewed, and deeply earthy. He descended slowly, his worn leather boots making almost no sound on the damp path, which felt more like compacted moss than stone or soil. The air grew cooler as he entered the Vale proper, carrying with it the most remarkable fragrance, rich, loamy, and almost impossibly comforting. It was the scent of petrichor, the unique aroma of rain meeting dry earth. But here in the Vale, it possessed a depth, a complexity Rhys had never encountered before. It seemed to hang in the air not merely as a smell, but as a presence, a tangible quality of the stillness. He breathed it in deeply, feeling a tension he hadn't fully realized he carried begin to soften around his shoulders, like tightly packed soil finally receiving a welcome drink. His lodging, arranged through quiet correspondence weeks prior, was nestled amongst a cluster of smooth, moss-covered boulders near the valley floor. It was a small, rounded structure, built seemingly from the Vale itself, walls of smooth river stones in shades of gray and blue, fitted together with remarkable care, and topped with a thick, tightly woven thatch roof, from which the last few raindrops now dripped with a gentle, rhythmic plink, plink, plink. A thin, pale plume of smoke curled lazily from a stone chimney, carrying the faint, reassuring scent of burning birchwood into the damp air. The wooden door, worn smooth by time and touch, opened inward with a quiet click. Inside the cottage was a haven of simple warmth and quiet comfort. A small fire already glowed serenely in the hearth, its gentle orange light casting dancing, soft-edged shadows on the curved stone walls. The air within was warm, carrying the mingled scents of the dry wood, the lingering petrichor that seeped in from outside, and something else, perhaps dried herbs tucked away somewhere unseen. A simple wooden table and 2 chairs stood on a woven rush mat, their surfaces polished smooth by use. Against one wall, a bed piled high with thick woolen blankets and muted shades of heather and fawn promised deep rest. Rhys shed his damp outer cloak, hanging it carefully on a wooden peg near the door. The fabric felt heavy, releasing a little sigh of water vapor into the warm air. He moved towards the hearth, drawn by its gentle heat. Holding his hands out, palms toward the low flames, he felt the warmth seep into his skin, a comforting sensation that traveled up his arms, easing the chill of the journey. The crackle of the fire was a soft, companionable sound in the profound quiet of the cottage, a gentle counterpoint to the distant melodic call of a wood thrush drifting in from the misty vale outside. He found a small kettle, already filled with fresh water, resting on a stone shelf beside the hearth, alongside a tin of dried chamomile flowers. The simple act of preparing tea felt like a necessary ritual, a way to fully arrive in this quiet space. He hung the kettle on the hook above the flames, listening to the water slowly begin to murmur as it warmed. The sound was soft, intimate, adding another layer to the cottage's peaceful atmosphere. He spooned the pale, feathery chamomile blossoms into a simple earthenware mug, their faint, apple-like scent rising gently. Pouring the steaming water over the flowers, he watched the pale gold color infuse the liquid, holding the warm mug in both hands, feeling its comforting weight and the gentle heat radiating through the pottery. Rhys sat down at the small table. The steam rose, carrying the soothing scent of chamomile. He took a slow sip, the warmth spreading through him, tasting faintly of sunshine and calm. Outside, the light began to soften further as the afternoon eased towards evening. The dripping from the eaves slowed, then stopped. There was only the fire's soft crackle, the distant birdsong, and the deep, abiding peace of the sunken vale settling around him like the softest blanket. The knots of weariness, held for so long, began finally to loosen. He sat for a long time, simply breathing, sipping the warm tea, listening. He observed the way the firelight played on the smooth stones of the wall, noticing the subtle variations in their color and texture. He felt the solid presence of the chair beneath him, the rough smoothness of the wooden table under his resting forearm. There was nothing to do, nowhere else to be. The sunken vale seemed to ask nothing of him but his presence, his quiet attention. As dusk gently deepened the shadows outside, Rhys felt a profound sense of having arrived not just at a place, but at a state of stillness he had long sought. The journey was over. The quiet had begun. He felt the gentle weight of sleepiness begin to press softly behind his eyes, a welcome sensation. Tonight, he would rest deeply. Chapter 2. The First Scented Path. Rhys woke slowly, not to a jarring noise, but to the gentle insistence of pale morning light filtering through the cottage's single rounded window. The fire in the hearth had burned down to soft, glowing embers, radiating a gentle, residual warmth that kept the small space comfortable. He lay still for a moment beneath the heavy woolen blankets, listening. The profound quiet of the previous evening remained, but now it felt imbued with a soft, expectant quality. Outside, birdsong threaded through the stillness, not the urgent calls of a busy world, but the measured, melodic notes of birds content in their sanctuary. He felt rested, truly rested, in a way that felt unfamiliar and deeply welcome. Rising quietly, he padded barefoot across the cool stone floor to the window. Pushing aside the simple linen curtain, he looked out onto the vale. The morning mist hadn't yet fully lifted, swirling in soft ethereal drifts among the trees and pooling in the lowest hollows. It softened the edges of the world, muting colors to gentle pastels. Sunlight slanted through breaks in the mist, illuminating patches of dew-kissed moss and catching the sparkle of lingering raindrops on fern fronds. The air, when he opened the door a crack, was cool and carried that same extraordinary scent from yesterday, petrichor, still distinct, though perhaps subtly shifted, mingled now with the damp sweetness of moss and decaying leaves. Remembering the quiet lore he'd read about the vale, the whispers of invisible pathways revealed only by scent, Rhys felt a gentle curiosity stir within him. After a simple breakfast of oatcakes and the last of his chamomile tea warmed over the rekindled embers, he stepped outside. The cool, damp air felt soft against his skin. He closed his eyes for a moment, letting go of the instinct to navigate by sight alone. Instead, he focused solely on his breathing, drawing in the complex tapestry of scents. The petrichor was undeniable, a clear, earthy note rising above the general damp fragrance of the woodland. He took a tentative step forward, turning his head slowly, trying to discern the direction from which the scent felt strongest, most concentrated. It wasn't like following a visible trail. It was more like sensing a current in the air, an invisible stream of aroma. Slowly, patiently, an impression formed of faint, yet discernible pull towards a grove of slender, pale-barked trees, standing silvery against the deeper greens of the surrounding woods. It felt less like a decision and more like a gentle yielding to the vale's invitation. He began to walk, his steps slow and deliberate, his attention focused inward on the subtle guidance of the scent. The ground beneath his worn boots was soft and yielding, a thick carpet of damp moss and fallen leaves that muffled his footsteps. He moved without hurry, letting the invisible path reveal itself moment by moment. His awareness shifted, becoming attuned to the minute details he might otherwise have overlooked. He noticed the intricate patterns of lichen growing on a fallen log, their colors ranging from pale gray-green to a surprising rusty orange. He felt the coolness of a large fern frond as it brushed gently against the back of his hand, leaving behind a trace of moisture. He observed the way the slanted morning sunlight illuminated the swirling mist, creating shifting columns of light and shadow among the trees. Droplets of dew clung precariously to the threads of a spider web strung between two branches, catching light like scattered jewels. The sounds, too, became more distinct in his focused state. The soft thump of a drop of condensation falling from a high branch onto a broad leaf below, the rustle of some small unseen creature in the undergrowth nearby, the sighing whisper of the breeze stirring the upper canopy. The petrichor scent remained his constant guide, sometimes strengthening as he rounded a mossy boulder, sometimes seeming to diffuse slightly in an open patch of ferns, but always present, always drawing him gently onward. There was no sense of urgency, no fear of getting lost. The path felt inherently benevolent, trustworthy. It was simply a matter of listening, not with his ears, but with his breath, allowing the subtle language of the vale to lead him. He paused by a small cluster of smooth gray stones, half buried in the moss. Kneeling down, he rested his palm on one. It was cool to the touch, damp from the morning mist, yet solid and grounding. He felt a sense of immense age emanating from it, a quiet history held within its smoothness. Closing his eyes again briefly, he breathed in the petrichor, stronger here near the damp earth around the stones. A feeling of profound peace settled over him, quiet and deep. This walking, this following of an unseen path felt like a form of meditation, a shedding of the outside world's complexities in favor of simple sensory presence. He continued his slow walk, the pale trunks of the birch-like trees growing closer. The scent seemed to pool around their base, rich and grounding. Reaching the edge of the grove, he stopped, placing a hand gently on the smooth, cool bark of the nearest tree. Looking back, he could no longer see the cottage, only the soft green embrace of the vale, wrapped in mist and silence. He hadn't traveled far in terms of distance, but inwardly he felt he had crossed a significant threshold, stepping deeper into the quiet magic of this place. He stood there for a long while, simply breathing, listening to the gentle sounds, and feeling the deep, abiding calm of the sunken vale seep into him like morning mist. Chapter 3. Meeting the Keeper. The next few days settled into a gentle rhythm for Rhys. Mornings often began with another soft shower, renewing the petrichor scent that drew him out onto the shifting, invisible pathways. He learned to trust the subtle guidance more readily, finding that the aromatic trails invariably led him towards pockets of particular beauty or tranquility within the sunken vale, a small clearing where sunlight pooled warmly, a bend in a slow-moving stream where flat stones offered a perfect place to sit and listen to the water's murmur, a stand of ancient, broad-leafed trees whose stillness felt almost sacred. He moved without expectation, simply allowing the scent and the quiet presence of the vale to be his companions. One late morning, following a particularly clear stream of petrichor that seemed richer, almost sweeter than usual, Rhys found himself approaching an area subtly different from the wilder parts of the vale he had explored so far. Here, the undergrowth was gently tended, and beds of unusual flowers bordered a winding pathway marked by smooth gray stepping stones. The air hummed with a quiet, purposeful energy, and mingling with the petrichor was a soft, calming fragrance reminiscent of lavender warmed by moonlight. Ahead, kneeling beside a cluster of these luminous-looking blooms, was a figure clad in simple earth-toned woven fabrics. This, Rhys sensed immediately, must be Maeve, the caretaker mentioned in the sparse notes he'd received before his arrival. She didn't seem startled by his quiet approach, merely looked up as he drew near, her expression calm and welcoming. Her face was lined with the fine tracery of seasons lived gently, and her eyes held a deep, serene quality, like still forest pools reflecting the sky. She offered Rhys a simple, warm smile, unaccompanied by words, a greeting that felt perfectly attuned to the Vale's quietude. Rhys inclined his head in return, a silent acknowledgement passing between them. Maeve gestured with a soil-dusted hand towards the flowers she was tending. They were indeed unusual. Their petals possessed a soft, almost velvety texture, and seemed to hold a cool inner light even in the daytime. Their color was a pale, ethereal lavender blue, and the gentle fragrance they emitted was deeply soothing, calming the mind like a soft lullaby. Maeve gently touched a bloom, her movements economical and full of care, seemingly encouraging its quiet glow. Rhys stood nearby, simply observing, feeling no need to fill the comfortable silence with unnecessary talk. After a time, Maeve rose slowly, brushing the dark, damp earth from her hands. She beckoned Rhys with a quiet gesture, leading him along the stepping stone path towards a dwelling similar to his own, though slightly larger, nestled seamlessly against a mossy embankment. Smoke rose from its chimney too, carrying the comforting scent of baking bread alongside the familiar birchwood. Inside, the space was filled with the same gentle warmth and tranquility as Rhys's cottage, but with more signs of long-term habitation. Shelves lined with earthenware jars likely holding dried herbs, bundles of willow switches leaning in a corner, and textiles woven in soft, natural colors draped over the backs of sturdy wooden chairs. Maeve indicated for Rhys to sit by the hearth, where the fire burned with a steady, companionable glow. She moved quietly about the room, fetching 2 hand-thrown pottery mugs, thick and comforting to hold. From a small pantry alcove, she brought out a round loaf of dark, crusty bread, still warm from a stone oven built into the side of the hearth, and a small wheel of soft, pale cheese. She sliced the bread, the knife making a soft, satisfying sound against the crust, revealing the dense, fragrant crumb within. She poured a mild, steaming, herbal infusion into the mugs, its scent clean and slightly minty. They ate together in comfortable silence, the only sounds the soft crackle of the fire, the gentle clink of pottery, and the quiet sounds of eating. The bread was hearty and delicious, the cheese mild and creamy, and the herbal tea warmed Rhys from the inside out. There was no awkwardness in the lack of conversation, the shared warmth of the hearth, the simple goodness of the food, and Maeve's serene presence created a profound sense of companionship. Her quiet acceptance was a balm, asking nothing of him, simply allowing him to be. After the simple meal, Maeve took a small, smooth stone from the mantelpiece. It was one of the resonant stones Rhys had noticed near the streams, dark gray and water-worn. She held it out to him. As Rhys took it, he was surprised by the gentle warmth radiating from it, like residual sunlight captured within the stone itself. He could feel a very faint, low vibration emanating from it, a deeply calming hum that seemed to soothe the nerves. Maeve simply nodded, a faint smile touching her lips, acknowledging his discovery without words. As the afternoon light began to soften outside, Rhys felt it was time to leave Maeve to her quiet routines. He offered a nod of thanks, which she returned with the same warm, silent understanding. Stepping back out into the cool air of the vale, carrying the gentle warmth of the resonant stone in his pocket, Rhys felt a deeper layer of peace settle within him. The meeting had been simple, undemanding, yet profoundly reassuring. He walked back towards his own cottage, the petrichor scent seeming fainter now as the day dried, guided more by memory and the gentle contours of the land, feeling utterly content in the quiet embrace of the Sunken Vale. Chapter 4. Weaving Calm. In the days that followed his quiet meeting with Maeve, Rhys found himself exploring the Sunken Vale with a growing sense of familiarity and ease. Maeve, through gentle gestures and quiet indications rather than lengthy explanations, helped him understand more about the Vale's subtle energies. She showed him how the Petrichor Labyrinths, those invisible guides, often led towards places where the natural tranquility was particularly concentrated, as if the scent itself sought out serenity. Following her subtle cues, Rhys discovered these pockets of profound peace for himself. One such place was a hidden pool tucked away in a small clearing surrounded by ancient ferns. The water was remarkably clear, reflecting the sky like a flawless mirror. Sunlight, filtering through the leaves overhead, warmed the dark, smooth stones lining the pool's bottom, infusing the water with a gentle, welcoming heat. Rhys would often sit on the mossy bank, dangling his bare feet in the surprisingly warm water, feeling the tension dissolve from his muscles. He'd watch the dance of light on the surface, listen to the soft plip of water dripping from fern fronds into the pool, and feel the deep quiet soak into him. Another favorite spot became a circle of immense broadleaf trees, their trunks thick and covered in intricate patterns of moss and lichen. Standing within the circle felt like entering a living sanctuary. Even on still days, a faint, constant rustle seemed to emanate from their high canopy, a soothing, breath-like susurrus that hushed the mind. Rhys would lean against one of the ancient trunks, feeling its solid, grounded presence, the rough texture of the bark under his hand strangely comforting. He'd close his eyes and just listen to that gentle, leafy whisper, letting it carry away stray thoughts like dried leaves on a breeze. Maeve also led him one clear afternoon to a high, sheltered ledge on the Vale's western slope. From here, one could look out over the entire valley floor, often veiled in soft layers of mist, especially in the mornings and evenings. The view was expansive, yet gentle, the softly rounded hills embracing the vale, the meandering streams glinting faintly below. Sitting there, feeling the vast quiet and the gentle breeze on his skin, Rhys felt a sense of perspective settle within him. His own worries seemed small and distant against the backdrop of the ancient, peaceful landscape. He felt the comforting weight of the resonant stone in his pocket, its gentle warmth, a constant reminder of the Vale's quiet magic. Noticing Rhys's quiet appreciation for the Vale's rhythms, Maeve introduced him to another calming activity. One afternoon, she brought out bundles of supple young willow switches, their bark smooth and smelling faintly green. She sat with him near her hearth, and with patient, gentle movements, began demonstrating the simple, repetitive art of weaving small, functional baskets. Her hands moved with an unhurried grace, bending and interlacing the switches, creating sturdy, pleasing shapes. She offered Rhys a bundle, and he began to imitate her movements. At first, his fingers felt clumsy, the willow less cooperative than it appeared, but Maeve offered no correction, only quiet encouragement through her own steady example. Gradually, Rhys found the rhythm, the feel of the smooth wood under his fingers, the gentle resistance as it bent, the repetitive motions of tucking and weaving. It all became a quiet meditation. His focus narrowed to the task at hand, the simple creation emerging slowly between his palms, the scent of the willow, the warmth of the fire, the soft crackle of the flames, all combined to create a deeply soothing atmosphere. He spent many peaceful hours weaving, sometimes in Maeve's quiet company, sometimes alone by his own small hearth, or sitting beside the murmuring stream. He made small baskets for carrying herbs or stones, their imperfections feeling natural and unimportant. The process itself was the reward, the calming repetition, the tactile connection to the natural materials, the quiet satisfaction of creating something simple and useful with his own hands. It grounded him, anchoring his awareness firmly in the present moment, in the gentle reality of the Sunken Vale. Between his explorations of the Vale's tranquil spots and the quiet hours spent weaving, Rhys felt the last vestiges of his former weariness steadily dissolving. He moved more slowly, breathed more deeply, noticed more keenly the subtle beauty surrounding him, the way sunlight slanted through the trees, the intricate design of a moss patch, the feel of cool water flowing over smooth stones. He felt lighter, calmer, more attuned to the gentle pulse of life within the vale. The quiet wasn't empty. It was full, rich with peace, and he was learning, finally, to simply be within it. Chapter 5. The Heart of the Labyrinth. A day of steady, gentle rain enveloped the Sunken Vale, not a harsh downpour, but a persistent, soft drumming on the thatch roofs and dripping from the dense canopy of leaves. The entire valley seemed to sigh under the moisture, colors deepening, the air growing thick with the scent of damp earth and vegetation. Rhys spent the day inside his cozy cottage, tending the small fire, sipping warm herbal tea, and working quietly on a willow basket, its form slowly taking shape under his patient hands. The sound of the rain was a constant, soothing presence, a gentle lullaby sung by the vale itself. He felt no impatience, no desire for the rain to stop, simply a deep sense of contentment within his warm, dry shelter. As evening approached, the rain gradually softened, eventually ceasing altogether, leaving behind a world washed clean and utterly saturated. Stepping outside his cottage door as twilight began to softly blur the edges of the day, Rhys was met with an astonishing intensity of scent. The petrichor, always present after rain, was now almost tangible, a rich, complex, deeply resonant aroma that seemed to permeate the very air he breathed. It was stronger, clearer, more defined than he had ever experienced it before the olfactory signature of the most potent Petrichor Labyrinth the Vale could offer. A quiet sense of anticipation, gentle and unhurried, settled within him. He closed his eyes and breathed deeply, allowing the profound earthy fragrance to fill his senses. This time, there was no tentative searching for the path. The aromatic current was unmistakable, a clear, compelling invitation drawing him forward. It felt less like following a faint trail and more like stepping into a gentle, invisible river of scent. He began to walk, letting the powerful fragrance guide his steps with unusual certainty through the deepening twilight. The path led him through familiar groves, past the murmuring streams now swollen slightly with the day's rain, their voices a deeper, more resonant murmur in the quiet air. He passed the circle of ancient trees, their leaves dripping slowly, releasing their own damp, woody fragrance into the mix. He walked beneath the high ledge where he often sat, now shrouded in low-lying mist that glowed faintly in the fading light. The labyrinth guided him onward, its unseen contours feeling solid and reassuring beneath his feet. The petrichor scent a constant, comforting presence, leading him deeper into the heart of the vale. The air grew increasingly still as he walked, the sounds of dripping water becoming more distinct, the distant call of a night bird echoing clearly in the profound quiet. The fragrance intensified further, becoming so rich and pervasive it felt less like something he smelled and more like something he was moving through, an atmosphere thick with peace and the essence of the rain-soaked earth. He felt utterly safe, held within the vale's gentle embrace, guided by its most intimate secret. Finally, the invisible path led him into a space he hadn't discovered before, though it felt instantly familiar, like arriving home. It was a small, almost perfectly circular clearing, nestled deep within the vale. The ground was carpeted in the softest, deepest moss Rhys had ever encountered, thick and springy underfoot, like a living velvet cushion. Ancient, smooth gray boulders draped in more moss formed a natural boundary around the clearing's edge. Here, at the very center of the Sunken Vale, the Petrichor Labyrinth seemed to culminate. The air was profoundly still, heavy with an almost sacred quiet, and the scent of petrichor was so concentrated it felt like a warm, comforting presence enveloping him completely. Rhys slowly lowered himself onto one of the largest moss-covered boulders. The moss yielded slightly beneath him, soft and cool, yet the stone beneath felt solid and grounding. He sat there unmoving, simply breathing in the tranquil air, saturated with the purest essence of the vale's peace. The last vestiges of any inner turmoil, any lingering echoes of the weary world he had left behind, seemed to dissolve effortlessly into the profound quietude of the clearing. There was no need for thought, no need for striving, only being. He felt an immense sense of belonging wash over him, gentle and deep, like the rainwater sinking slowly into the fertile earth around him. He was part of this place, attuned to its rhythms, held safely within its heart. He sat for a long, unmeasured time as the last light faded and the first pale stars began to prick the clearing sky, visible through the canopy overhead. The gentle warmth from the resonant stone in his pocket seemed to pulse softly in time with his own quiet breathing. Here, in the heart of the Petrichor Labyrinth, Rhys found not an escape, but a deep and abiding connection to the earth, to the quiet, and finally peacefully to himself. A profound sense of rest settled deep within his bones, a calm that promised gentle dreams and a truly restorative sleep.